All right, yo, yo, yo. What up, YouTube? It's good to see you again. You know who I am. I'm Travis Pangburn. My hair's doing something weird. That's okay. What up, what up, what up? Let me know who's there. Just doing a live stream here to talk about the event that was announced today. Matt Dillahunty, the Warrior for Reason, versus Dinesh the Wizard D'Souza. If these were wrestling characters. And maybe we can say that they are intellectual wrestling characters. And I know you're going to say the one that you don't agree with all the time. They're not an intellectual. Well, I think they both are. But it's great to be back presenting these events. I am so excited to be coming back to New York, March 1st. Dillahunty vs. D'Souza goes down. Once we get to 1,000 tickets sold, the live stream will be unlocked. So we have to unlock the live stream, and then it will be awesome. Everyone from around the world can view the event as it's happening, which I love. I love that. I'm just going to do a bit of work while I'm chatting with you guys. How's it going on Facebook and YouTube? I'm just doing Facebook and YouTube right now. And I will write in the chat here. What do you think they should discuss? The main topics are God, Trump, and the best foot forward for America. For America. Perfecto. I'm just sending out all my invites here, guys. My phone was just buzzing again. The sale, first day of sale, is awesome. Things are going great. It's on pace for a sellout. So, just gonna try keeping this pace up, and yeah, hopefully we'll be sold out in a month or so. That would be awesome. We'll do that and do some live streaming. I will definitely do some live streaming from the event with you guys backstage, which will be a lot of fun. MBL McKenzie, welcome back. I'm pretty sure you've been here before. First comment, they should discuss the best cheese for enchiladas. No, I think that conversation will just go south too fast. If they happen to disagree on the cheese, we're going to see absolute fireworks, and I am unable to afford a pyro permit for this event. Marlon, talk about why Christianity seems to be so tied to the right. Yeah, that's a good one. That's really good. That's in line with the topic. And also, what do you guys think is really going to happen at this event? I mean, a lot of people think that Matt handled Jordan Peterson with ease. That seems to be the general reaction to the debate. Even there's a lot of people that say, I'm a huge Jordan Peterson fan, maybe the biggest, but I think Matt Dillahunty took the day on this one. What do you guys think of that event? And are we going to see something similar, or is this going to be a lot more firebrand than we're maybe used to in the past 5 years? Obviously, we didn't schedule this live stream, so there won't be a ton of you guys here. But if you're not here while this live stream's happening, we will be reading the comments below the video. So just use the comment section below and write us what you would like to see discussed. Mass Associates says steer clear from party politics as much as possible. Yeah, I mean, there will, since Trump is on the menu, there will inevitably be some of that happening. Um, because I think it's important from an ideological perspective to discuss this. But obviously, if it's just mud slinging, uh, it's not really going to go anywhere, and it's just going to be the same crap you hear on the news or from people who are trying to impress the extreme left or the extreme right with their rhetoric. But I don't think that's what this is going to be. Um, it's one of Matt Dillahunty's greatest talents is to keep the conversations based in skepticism, and I think as far as Dinesh D'Souza, it's like obviously me and him don't agree ideologically on quite a few things, but I think Dinesh is an honest debater, and he actually I believe he actually believes the things that he says he believes, just like Matt. So I think this is going to be an honest conversation, and I think it's going to be one of the most firebrand, uh, one of the most firebrand conversations maybe we've ever seen in this domain. Obviously, it's hard to beat like a good hitch slap or like one of the big Hitchens events of the past as far as firebrandness goes, or a lot of the stuff with Dawkins as well. But I think this one's going to be very special. Um, Naughty Design says, talk about the origins of slavery and how it was ended in the USA. Talk about the origins of slavery and how it was ended in the USA. Um, yeah, I mean, you don't want to. This isn't going to turn into a history lesson, right? This is going to. They're going to be talking about Trump, which is a it is a big topic, and it's one that needs to be touched. It's the election's coming up, 2020 election. Um, it's important for the world to hear a skeptic, atheist perspective, because this is going to be millions of people are going to see this. It's important that we are going to hear an atheist, skeptic perspective on the arguments that Dinesh puts out for why Donald Trump is doing a good job or is a good choice. And I think that's an important, honest conversation that we need to happen. We need to stop with all the fucking impeachment nonsense and all of this crap that just isn't going to do any good, and focus on ideological warfare, ideological battles. That's what we need to see. We need to see this from politicians, need to start doing this coming from a place of intellectual honesty, good faith, wanting to have a good faith discussion. This is really important, and I think this is going to be a really good example of what can be achieved if you go into a conversation with good faith. Um, let's see. Marlin says, I would say he handled Peterson with ease. That's Matt. But rather, Peterson starts getting really abstract, which does him a disservice, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I've talked about Jordan lots on this channel, and my experiences with him and working with him and having dinners with him, hanging out. He is a thought pretzel thinker. You have to be able to follow these dots that he's creating, and then he brings it back together to tie it back in. And sometimes there's even tangents in the middle of those. And it's not to say that that's a worse way of thinking. If that doesn't if you don't have a way to translate that properly to an audience, it might come off as looking like not being the best kind of communicator of your ideas. I think that's a valid criticism of Jordan's. But I mean, Jordan's arguing for an indefensible position, really, when it comes to God, because he's trying to redefine a term, and even the term of truth or existence or things like it depends on what you mean by truth. It depends on what you mean by existence. It's like, well, no, we already have colloquial uses of these, and it's not like we just want everyone to run around and start just saying things and not adhering to the general definitions that we put behind words. And that doesn't mean that words have intrinsic meaning, because words just have usages. But Um, it's just it turns into an indefensible position when you want to, try and pull some things from myth and put them into your worldview, which is fine, but then say that this thing I'm pulling from myth is actually metaphorically true or metaphorically exists. And then you go to say, well, I still think God exists. And then it's like, well, you got to be clear about this, because a lot of people you're speaking to, fundamentalists, are using you as a person to point at to say, see, you can be highly intelligent and believe in the existence of a God as well. Look at Jordan. And it's true that you can, but I mean highly intelligent when it comes to talking about what it means to exist and what it means to not be demonstrated to exist. MBL Mackenzie says Dillahunty versus Peterson. Matt did a great in many comments. I honestly think Matt has a very solid rhetoric. Yeah, I do too. Matt always comes off as being very honest in a conversation, and he's not afraid to point out logical fallacies on the fly. His level of skepticism, his foundation in skepticism is really solid, and that's why I call him one of the best skeptics on this planet, and probably that has ever lived. Just purely his understanding of skepticism and how it applies. He finds the holes in people's reasoning and logic all the time, because that engine works so well. Glenn Ryan. Looks like we got a few new names here. I'm just gonna see. Getting some notifications here. That's hilarious. All right. Sorry, just checking a couple notifications here, guys. I'll take one more peek at the ticketing map. Yeah, the event's doing really good. I'm really happy with how tickets are moving. That's a good sign, really good sign. Where was I again? Oh yeah, I'm over here. If you guys can like this stream, that helps us out a lot. And remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Rock and roll. Who do we got here? Glenn Ryan says, Matt will kick D'Souza's ass. Marlon, thank you guys for commenting. Marlon, Matt was definitely solid. I just don't know if I agree with the ease part. Peterson is a pretty heavyweight debater. Yeah, I wouldn't say ease. Jordan is very convincing, and if your skeptical engine isn't running well in a debate on religious necessity, you're going to find yourself having a hard time responding if you're not really paying attention, and essentially jumping in when Jordan's thought pretzels become too difficult to track, kind of like Sam Harris did with him when they were talking necessity. But the thing about Jordan is that when it comes to matters of clinical psychology, he is very clear and a very good communicator on those topics, I think. Like using very clear language, not muddying it too much, not making it too pretty, which I think is good. I think simplifying arguments and claims is the mark that you are actually onto something. Naughty Design says, Matt is uneducated. He's had too much sunlight pumped up his arse over the years and got lazy. Naughty Design seems to be a Matt hater. Why don't you like Matt Dillahunty? And, actually, you know what? Naughty Design, he says, nah, let's talk about Matt's wife. Don't be a fucking idiot. Don't be, okay, I talk about this on this channel, and I talk about the cunt problem in the room. Don't be the cunt in the room who's really making it difficult for people to have honest conversation. And it's fine, like joking is fine and whatever, but it's like there's joking and then there's just being a cunt. So just don't be the cunt in the room. Uh, let's see. Naughty Design again. Naturalism and philosophy. Ted, welcome back. Morality, death. You want them to talk about morality, death. If we have souls, transgenderism versus sports. Interesting. You want them to go kind of what's in the news, and I like that. I like speakers, dealing with current events and talking about them out live, and discovering what the most reasonable perspective is based on their worldview. And obviously, I always hope that worldview to be in skepticism, number one. So I think that's a good idea. We could pick up some topics like that as some things to discuss. Night Design says, "Oh God, leave the TDS alone. If you're going to talk about Trump, talk about why he was elected." Yeah, I mean that gets talked about a lot. Why he's elected. I want more conversations, and I've been harping at Andrew Yang and the Yang Gang about this. Um, there needs to be more ideological war. Politicians going after other politicians, ideologically engaging in the war of ideas, not slinging mud. Actually looking at something Donald Trump has done, and why he did it or whatever, why he said he did it, and putting it up on a chalkboard and saying, okay, this is something Donald actually did, and we can all agree that he did this, and then we can all agree that he said this was his reasoning behind it. Well, let me show you how I would be better. I would cross out this part, and then I would add this to here, and then move this over here, and then that's going to make the equation a lot better. So people need to start dealing with what actually has been claimed, what actually has been done. Do your homework on how Trump has been governing, and then build your counter arguments and make it a war of ideas, not a war against people's character. Because I think it's just weak, and I think the larger demographic of voters, the largest demographic of voters, has no time for that kind of nonsense. And I don't think this has been focused in on enough by modern day politicians. Ted says free will and determinism. Yeah, I mean, in uh, any conversation with philosophy, it seems like that's always going to come up, because then eventually it gets down to, well, why are we doing these things anyway? I was like, well, it's predetermined. It's like, well, you don't know that. Well, I mean, those conversations can go one of two ways. They can be very interesting, but then they can just be like, uh, kind of it. We all have to basically live as though we do have free will. So um, obviously, it hasn't been demonstrated that we do have free will, and that burden of proof is on those who are going to claim it. Um, but yeah, sometimes that conversation can get pretty dry. But that's why there's a lot of topics for them to hit, and uh, basically, I put it at the top of the chat here, but they're going to be discussing Trump, God, two very big topics, and the best foot forward for humanity. If you guys can like this stream, that would be great. More people see it if you do. It helps the channel out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am just going to see. I think Dinesh was going to tweet this out. I just need to make sure if he had all information. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we got some comments coming in on Twitter too. That's great, and we will have some on Facebook as well. If you guys aren't following me on Twitter, follow me at the Pangburn on Twitter. I am at the Pangburn main Pangburn page where we have all of our biggest discussions is at Pangburn Inspire on Facebook. Okay, cool. What's going on here? I'm waiting for another venue to get back to me. Okay. Awesome. Let me get back to the chat here. I was going to open this up in a different window. Give me a second there, guys. Remember to hit that like button on the stream. You know you wanna. Okay, got it. Show. Okay. Looks like you guys are going hard. What do you think? What do you think is a way? Here's a question, because a lot of you seem to be on the side of Matt Dillahunty for this, thinking that he will. He's going to pull off a victory here, an ideological victory, of course. But what do you think? There are there any ways that Dinesh could throw Matt for a loop? Why don't we think about that? Try from that angle. Let's see what we got. Mick says, is this about religion? They're going to be talking about on March 1st in New York City at the Town Hall Theater. They are going to be talking about Trump, God, and the best foot forward for America. Let's go. Marlon says, haha, thought pretzel, that's great. Naughty Design says, yes, talk about religious origins through group selection. Yeah, that's kind of interesting, but it's more of a science. That's more of a scientific discussion than a philosophical one, and historical. There's going to be references to history, but I mean, this is about taking our current. This is more of a conversation of what ought to be. A philosophical conversation. MBL Mackenzie says, I disagree. Matt uses very philosophical techniques. Sometimes he's pretty much Hume's on Miracle and Plato's Meno. Thanks for the comments, guys. Zents29 says, Jordan is doing the same as Christians since the beginning, arguing for his God. Yep. Yeah, that's true. Mick says Jordan is secretly an atheist. It's not secret, but I think by definition Jordan is an atheist because he doesn't believe in the actual existence of a God. He believes in the existence of the metaphor of God. So under my definition of God, he is actually an atheist. And when I did my first podcast on this channel, it was with Jordan, and that's what I told him. I said, I actually think that you are an atheist. Like, you fall under my definition for what an atheist is. You just simply lack the belief in the actual existence. And I say actual because when I say actual existence, I'm talking about if I had an apple in my hand, that apple actually exists. This is something that actually does exist, that can be measured. It's not a memory. It's not a well, I guess you can maybe measure our memories eventually, but it's not an imagined thing. It's not like you're imagining a planet that doesn't exist and then saying that it exists. Zents29 says, I believe that Jordan believes he is a prophet of God. Where's your evidence, Zents? Why do you believe that? You believe that Jordan believes that he's a prophet of God, but where is your evidence? Mick says atheists have a higher IQ on average. That may be the case, but keep in mind that just like race, if one race happens to do more crimes statistically or on average, that does not mean that you can apply that bias to the next person of that race that you see, much like you can't use that bias against the next atheist you see and assume that they'll probably have an higher IQ. And you can't use that against someone who's not an atheist and assume that they will have a lower IQ. Because we can't actually apply statements like that or findings like that. in a practical way in everyday life when assessing individuals, because everyone is an individual. Marlin says, if Peterson was an atheist, I think us atheists would be glad to have him on our side, though. I don't really view it as sides. I mean, I guess you could say ideological side of that, saying that in the position of lack of belief in the existence of an actual God, which Jordan already does hold that. So he already is on your side of that equation. Glenn Ryan says, I think Peterson is not a Christian. Yeah, I mean, by like almost every Christian's idea of what Christianity that I've ever met, they all have a very general idea that the Christian God actually does exist, and Jesus actually did exist, and miracles actually did occur. And yeah, Jordan doesn't believe that. Mick says Jordan believes religion is good for society, but untrue. He may be right. Jordan believes religion is good for society. No, I would go further than that, Mick. He believes that it is the way he describes it is as if we would be lost without it as a human race. And I say no. I think we would have just, we would have always told stories, but I don't think they needed to be as grotesque and barbaric, even though that is kind of a reflection of how we were at the time. But not all religions that were created around these eras were all violent and gross and sacrificing children and whatnot. There weren't all like that. There were a lot like that, but it's not like you need all that harsh dogmatic crap to put together a meaningful story. Simos Funk says, no way is D'Souza an honest debater. He is very passive-aggressive and will use that to try to get under Matt's skin. Simos Frank makes a claim. No way is D'Souza an honest debater. Okay, let's see your evidence, Simos. Maybe give us a quote or tell us why you believe that. Get a little more detail. MBL Mackenzie says, thank you guys. Like this stream. You wanna. And I'm just going through the comments here today. Thank you guys for chipping in. We will all actually read this. I will be forwarding the video to Matt and Dinesh, and they will go through it. Zens29 says Jordan doesn't believe that. Jordan doesn't believe what exactly? Zens29. Just put at the Pangburn in your response so I won't miss it. Mass Associates says D'Souza resorts to bumper stickers when pressed. I don't know. I think he's a lot stronger than that. Much stronger debater than that. In fact, one of the strongest, I think, that I've seen. I think Dinesh is an extremely strong debater. Ted says that clock has got to go. No. I'm going to leave the clock at that time just to fuck with you. Ted says Matt is smart but full of himself. Aren't we all a little full of ourselves? Aren't we? I think Matt's potentially as guilty as that as Dinesh, and they're both as guilty as that as basically all of us. The only difference is they got cameras on them and they do work in the public eye. Zens29 says you can call Matt an asshole or a douche or a whatever, but uneducated. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where that comes from, and it actually doesn't matter. I care about the content of one's argument, and Matt makes excellent arguments, and he has a solid foundation of skepticism, and that's what you need and an understanding of logic, and that's what you need to engage in intellectual discourse. And Matt is one of the kings, one of the living kings, I think, of having a conversation. And I think it comes from just having so many, well, obviously Matt's mind is special, but coming from just having so many conversations with people from so many different spectrums of belief, and just doing, yeah, like having so many of them on live on the air. Uh, Practice is good for engaging in these kind of conversations. Uh, Zens29 says arrogant is definitely something you can call Matt, but dumb. Matt, again, like everyone has strong traits, weak traits. I know Matt very well, and I've spent a lot of time with Matt. I don't find Matt to be arrogant. I find him to be a really awesome, easygoing guy, to be honest. Brighton Tandabantu says, please ask Matt if he can plan to come to South Africa, Cape Town. Thanks. I will ask him. I will make a note. The Guam guy says abortion. For sure they should talk about abortion. Yeah, I mean, they should. I mean, abortion is a very important topic for voters. Maybe not as much as immigration, but it is up there, and this is a topic they would definitely butt heads on. MBL McKenzie says Matt does not leave anything unclear. He is very determined with a lot of his arguments. I think the best topic again first will be the semantics of God and religion, and then probably politics, ethics. Yeah, I think ethics is a good conversation in politics, political ethics, and also religious ethics too. I think that's a good conversation. Ethan Campbell, I would like to know what they think is each other's most formidable or convincing argument. That's an excellent question. Thank you, Ethan Campbell, for the comment. Ethan Campbell again says, I would like to know what they think is each other's most formidable or convincing argument. Yeah, I think having each of them maybe steel man each other at some point in the night. I don't think, like, perhaps to when they start on each topic, like, well, we were going to talk about God. Why don't you start off by steel manning just by the basic outline of what you know about me, Matt? I'm being Dinesh. Tell me, why don't you steel man for me what you think my general position is on God, and then Dinesh can do that for Matt. This was a technique we used in Jordan Peterson versus Sam Harris, and it works very well. And there's some really interesting things. I've been going through these videos of the Sam Jordan talks, and I've been doing these watch parties on the channel. If you want to check those out, there's quite a few of them. I think there's 16 hours of content there now. But I've been going through them slow with the live audience chatting in, and I've noticed that the Steelman process does tend to put the speakers in a more zoned into the finer details of the other person's belief structure, and I think it opens up for more interesting avenues for the speakers to go down. It's a great technique, and everyone should do that with their own beliefs. To be honest, like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be steel manning your own beliefs and other people's beliefs. I mean, most importantly, the argument that is against your position for whatever positions you hold, and make sure that your argument isn't failing due to logical fallacy or anything like that. That was a great suggestion, Ethan. Mass Associates, I think that's how you say your name, says Trump got elected because he won the Electoral College. Yes. Correct. Correct. Glenn Ryan says Matt is rational. Peterson woo-woo. Nah, I mean, Peterson, when it comes to God and the way he says, it exists, but it's metaphorical existence, I think is wooey. And that and obviously I disagree with Jordan's position on that, but Jordan's got a lot of great to him intellectually. MBL McKenzie back again says, I agree with Glenn. One of my complaints with Jordan is his semantics. Yeah. Well, Jordan is a detail guy, and the details do matter. But you don't need. Sometimes going into too much detail can muddy the conversation and make it hard to communicate. Zens29 says shitloads of presidents won by electoral. I fail to see the point. Trump also won because of the SJW movement. That could, I mean, that was potentially a factor. Silent Scope 88 says Ethan Campbell, convincing argument in regard to what? Just curious. Oh, you guys are having a conversation. Zens29 says, and Trump is going to win again because of the same shit. I called this, a year ago. I think the only chance the Democrats have to win is going with someone like Andrew Yang. And probably Andrew Yang would be the only way they're going to win. He's just so different. It's just the optics of putting up another old guy, like Biden or Bernie against Trump. I don't think there's a friggin' chance in hell. I just think the optics of it, and the optics mean a lot in the United States. I mean, it's the entertainment capital of the world, and just the pure photo ops and all of that stuff of having like two more old guys going at it. And well, is one really better than the other? Well, I mean, a lot of people would argue yes, but can you really imagine Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders beating Donald Trump? I can't see it happening. I think Donald Trump would walk over those guys, but I think Andrew Yang could. I think he has the temperament to go toe to toe with Donald Trump on ideas and force the conversation there to ideas and not get sucked into the. I just feel like Yang's got that temperament. He wouldn't get sucked into the mud slinging, and that's where Donald would want to go. But if you just go in there with a good spirit and a positive spirit, and understand that, like, Donald's going to say his things, but I'll play this. I'll play the game with him, but I'm still going to make sure we talk about what I believe are the most important things for us to be talking about here. And, we can get over your outbursts and things like that in a fun way, and we can both have fun with it. I just think Yang has that temperament. Let's see here. Just double checking something. Okay, good. We should be getting a balance now. It looks like Dinesh just retweeted the live stream, and yeah, we're gonna get a nice audience here probably. Thank you guys so much for those who are tuning in. Please like this stream. It helps it out. Hit the like button. You know you want to. Let's get back to some chat. I think I need some more water. Yeah, I'm going to fill up on water. I'll be right back. 5 seconds. Keep chatting. And you guys are going to see my reveal. I got the space pants back on. Oh, yeah, because we got an event. March 1st, New York City. Space pants. You'll see me walk away. I'll be right back. All right. I am back. Welcome back. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen the trailer yet, check out the trailer. I'll actually give you guys the ticket link as well, of course. The ticket link. Here we go. Wow, seats are moving. This is a good thing. It's a good thing, guys. This event is going to happen. It is selling. There's the ticket link. I just gave it to you guys. What else am I going to give you guys? I will also give you the link to the trailer. And make sure you guys are following me at the Pangburn on Twitter. And what am I doing? I'm going to put up... I haven't even updated the website today. I've been too busy promoting. Let's see. I will give you guys the trailer. I'm sure most of you guys have seen it. Remember to subscribe, hit that notification bell. You know you want to. You know you want to be my friend. And here is the trailer. And then I'll get back to chat here, guys. The trailer for the event. And, of course, on Facebook, at Pangburn Inspire. It's right under my ugly mug. Right there. At Pangburn Inspire. At the Pangburn on Twitter. Rock and roll. All right. What else we got here? You guys are giving her in the chat. This is good. I'm going to come and find where you... Zents, tell us how you actually feel. The Guam guy, thanks for the comments, guys. The Guam guy says, in addition to abortion, have them talk about taking tax exemptions away from religious institutions. Yeah, I think actually, I'm not sure where Matt does sit on that. Actually, that actually might be a point where they may agree, but I would have to look. I can't remember if it was Matt. Someone I was talking to, I was, who would be expected to be someone who would be against, for taxing churches, and they actually weren't, and they made an argument along the lines of, well, they're essentially a do-good non-profit service, and that's why they shouldn't be taxed. But I've heard some people argue about this strongly. It's not something I've really thought about a lot. I mean, in general, I would say because of how profitable religious institutions are and religion is, I think it should be taxed. I think it should pay a fair share of tax, and obviously that money, the tax on churches could be a specific pool of money that is used for whatever, for feeding the hungry. Just the basic, the basics, or like cleaning up terrible parts of your country and making them livable again. Zents29 has a lot to say, and that's awesome. Zents29 says, I could give 20 million reasons as to why I believe that, but that would take so fucking long, and I have to go to sleep soon. Yep, even though he cannot define what the fuck religion is or what exactly... Oh, you're talking about Jordan here, okay. And then Zent says, Jordan Peterson is a fucking idiot when he starts talking about things that he has not studied very well. Well, I think he's studied religion, dogma, myth. I think he studied it really well. You might not like what his answers are that he comes up with, but I would suggest giving strong counter arguments as opposed to saying that Jordan Peterson is a fucking idiot, because obviously the guy's not an idiot, right? Skip Bellin says, if there was no God, then the world would be exactly as it is now. Okay. Ryan Betts says, do you think anyone has understood Jordan's beliefs perfectly yet? Or is the entire understanding still in his own head? I think Jordan, if you sit down and you listen to what Jordan's saying, It is a different style of thinking and speaking as the thought pretzels are being made. And like I said, it doesn't mean you're going to get worse answers doing it this way. It's just sometimes this is going to be hard to communicate to people with. Um, Silent Scope says, I lost respect for Jordan when during the talk with Matt, his depiction of what a true atheist is based off a fictional character. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's a good criticism. Reg N. Barsoon says Peterson is Deepak Chopra 2.0. No, no. Deepak Chopra makes stuff up and tries to pass it off as science. That's a lot different because what Jordan's typically talking about is the power of metaphor and how he considers that God, but he doesn't. He's not like he's. I don't think Jordan is making any unscientific claims. But if someone thinks he is, please post it. I would like to see the claim. Let's see what else we got here. Christy Santiago, welcome to the chat. She says, clean your room is good advice, question mark, LOL. Not a JP fan myself. Well, I guess in the most fundamental version of that, you should keep generally a tidy house, right? You don't want rats to form and things like that. And obviously, I think this is a this is a metaphor as well, like to put your house in order, and that includes your own psychology. Reg Anabersoon says MBL Mackenzie agreed, but he should stick to psychology. Silent Scope 88 says, where does D'Souza sit on most things? Is he more right? I honestly don't know. Yeah, he's a Republican, strong supporter of Donald Trump. I've heard him say, Donald Trump isn't a Boy Scout at all, but I think Dinesh D'Souza likes the way he governs in general and thinks that he's a force for good. And if you look at Dinesh's new documentaries, I actually flew down to L.A. when his last documentary came out, and I went to the private screening, and I thought it was very interesting. But Dinesh is one of these guys. He's very crafty. He can make a claim that claims something that is technically true, but claim it in a way that does throw some interesting irons into the fire that can really get people to commit confirmation bias on, or with the proper imagery behind what he says, can get people starting to put dots together, kind of like dot connecting, like a conspiracy theory type thing. That's just a testament to the craftiness and the strength as a debater that Dinesh is, really. Thank you guys for the likes. Really appreciate it. Let's see. Just going to double check what I got going here. Perfect. Thank you guys. And remember to sub to the channel. You know you wanna. Okay. Tickets. Moving right along. Get your tickets. If you guys can't make it to New York for the event, please make sure you do share the event with someone who lives in the area. And like we've been advertising, once we hit that 1,000 ticket, once we've sold that 1,000th ticket, then that unlocks the live stream for the event. The event will be available in live stream if we hit that, or I think we're not going to have a problem hitting that, but when we hit that 1,000 ticket mark, it will be available on March 1st live in New York City. Back to New York. Let's see. What else we got? Just seeing what else you guys have here. Zenz is dropping F-bombs, which is fine. Actually, he's not. He's doing F star 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 star. Mank Deems, welcome back, Mank. Mank Deems in the house. Mank Deems, gonna own some noobs. Welcome back, sup nerds, says Mank. Zents29 says, I consider myself a classical liberal. MBL Mackenzie, can you help us with a definition of classical liberal, Zents29? Ethan Campbell says, Silent Scope, sorry, I just saw your reply. I'm not too sure because it's hard for me to imagine many places they agree. So I think maybe if there was one, I think Trump won because people in the Rust Belt have become delusioned with the Democrat status quo. Disillusioned, sorry. Alexander Jackson says Yang is pulling at like negative 3%. Bernie beats Trump in almost every single poll. Yeah, I know that when they're pulled together, that is the case. But you also have to figure out who's like where these who's engaging in these polls, right? Because the polling was so bad for the last election, are the polls to be taken seriously when it comes to Donald Trump? Not necessarily on the Democratic side where it's just the Democrats, but putting a Democrat up against Trump in a poll, does it really matter? Yes, but Yang is only polling 3%, and that is a failure of that campaign, I'm telling you. I've been tweeting about it, trying to help the best I can. I released a video with kind of be bold, number one, the first thing you have to be doing, and it's basically has to do with Yang should be trying to engage on Twitter every day, 5-minute video every day on Twitter, trying to engage with Donald Trump in ideological war about one of the ideas that Trump has had or one of the things he has done, and Yang should show how he would be better. This is what Donald Trump done, and Andrew should go after topics or critiques of Donald Trump where he kind of does agree with what Donald Trump was getting at, but this is where he failed in execution, and this is where me, Andrew Yang, would actually execute better. I would not just throw out the Trump agenda that so many of you Americans want. I would. There are some things that he's doing, and here's a list of them that I really like. And like this kind of talk from a political candidate is going to garner respect, huge amounts of respect from either side of the political spectrum. And I just don't know why this isn't being done and why it's not done more in politics. It's almost like it's almost like a lot of people have lost touch with how important thinking and rationality is to people. Like they think, well, I guess we pander to the extremely loud minority on this side and on that side as well. And they will be the loud ones spreading the stuff. So I might as well appeal to them so they make sure they're spreading our name around and things like that. But no, I don't think that's the right foot forward to run a campaign. I think you gotta stick to ideological wars and ideological warfare. This mudslinging and trying to get someone impeached when it's not. It's nothing. Nothing is going to come of that. It's you don't have to be a genius to see that. And I think Andrew's right about that. You got to focus on ideological discussions and get down to the meat of where you disagree. Because, like, from the Democrat side, the Democrat constituency wants a leader who's going to go after Trump ideologically and engage in that war because they want to see their leader stand up for the values that they hold dear and go to ideological war with the values that they detest. That is what people want. And Donald Trump would have to step up to the plate and engage in that battle, or else he's just going to look like to quote Dinesh in the trailer video, a total idiot. So, not that Dinesh was saying that about Trump, but he says that he mentions something about uh, there's a new kind of atheist, and basically all they're trying to do is make us God believers look like total idiots. And I don't think that's the goal of atheism. I mean, atheism doesn't have a goal. It's just the rejection of the claim that God exists due to lack of evidence. My lips are getting dry. This event is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be there. I will introduce the dudes. I'm just checking a couple things here, guys. I just went on my political rant for the day. All right, we got lots of chat going on. Thank you guys. Remember to like this stream. Rock and roll. I put the Ticketmaster link and the trailer link in the chat. MBL Mackenzie says, we kind of all are liberals because we value liberty so much. Sometimes we are condemned to use the definition of freedom from our direct ancestors. Alexander Jackson says Trump's approval numbers are abysmal. Bernie, Biden, and Warren all beat Trump in polling. Yeah, that sounds like. Well, what do you guys think of what Alexander Jackson just said? I'll let you guys answer that one. Silent Scope says to at Pangburn, in regards to tax and churches, but don't churches not have to show their books? Other nonprofits do, at least as far as I'm aware. Yeah, I think they should have to show their books. But again, I don't think it is a nonprofit. Like, I think it's very profitable. I think it's very profitable. And I'm not saying that churches don't do good and they don't give back. Of course they do. They have their programs. But does that mean they shouldn't be taxed at all? Like zero tax? I don't think so. I think it's profitable enough. There's enough money in it that because these live events, some of these live events are just taking in hundreds of thousands of dollars every single time they have an event, and I mean, where is all that money going? And I understand that there are foundations and things like that. Some good gets done with the money, but there are also some people in the religious sphere that really make huge coin being a religious leader, ideologue, or priest, or something like that of some kind. Like, it can be really lucrative for those people. The Guam guy says churches are essentially non-profits. Then they shouldn't support politicians or their campaigns. Bona fide non-profits can lose their status in the U.S. for electioneering. Yeah, these are good points. Ryan Betts, welcome back. This is in response to my question earlier about if Jordan has been perfectly understood yet. So if he is complicated to understand, he may arrive at a true conclusion in his own head, but I wonder. Well, I remember a moment I'll probably never forget is after the conversation with Matt Dillahunty. Jordan was he was very worn out, and he asked me again. He's like, "So what do you think of that? What we talked about there? We were sitting in the limo together. It was just us heading back to the hotel, and and I was like, well, I generally agree with everything Matt was getting after there tonight. I think, I mean, Matt didn't say it, but I really do think that your position is the atheist position. You are just saying that you've created this new version of God this metaphorically true version of God that you can actually hold on to while holding a purely scientific worldview simultaneously. So, I mean, Jordan basically is arguing the power and of these stories and how important they are to humanity. And if you want to take that argument on, you can obviously go the route of, well, I mean, there's been many stories that people have passionately claimed, like you are, that this particular story is the story. This metaphor is the metaphor. Human beings could not exist without it, and it might have burnt up through history, and we never actually saw it. Or you just have this kind of relationship with Shakespeare, is that like people who haven't read Shakespeare or seen Shakespeare are just like they're living a meaningless life. They haven't even come close to tasting the good fruit if they haven't engaged with Shakespeare. Yeah, the power of art. That's why my philosophy and my equation that I'm working on for my first book is split up into two sides, art and science. And these are just kind of general modes of inspiration that I think are key to achieving maximal fruitfulness and maximal well-being. I don't know if you guys saw this. I'm going to give you guys my tweet. I put this fun little dig together of the IDW because I've always kind of poked fun at the IDW thing, but this was my intellectual warm blanket instead of the intellectual dark web. I call it the intellectual warm blanket. That's what I call this movement. What else we got here? Thank you guys so much for hanging out in the chat. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe. Alexander Jackson seems to have a certain element of extremism in how you talk and how you converse with others. When it comes to religion, Peterson can't give it straight. He talks in squirmy metaphors, so you can't pin him down. Alexander Jackson says Dinesh is so Republican, he's a criminal. Let's see what else. Alexander Jackson says the polling wasn't that bad last election. Remember, maybe it was just a couple comments. Yeah, just a couple. I think a couple of those comments. Trump's approval numbers are abysmal. Bernie, Biden, and Warren all beat Trump in polling. Yeah, statements of fact. Maybe you're not that. Maybe Alexander isn't being as extreme as I thought. There's a couple things that popped up there that my extremist alarm went off. Let's see. Wow, my screen is really bright. Okay, debate. Silent Scope 88 says, I've never heard science is all about probabilities. No, it's not. It's not. Science is building models based on the evidence of reality to explain a hypothesis. And then once you can do that, once there's enough evidence to justify belief in that hypothesis, it becomes a theory, just like the theory of gravity, just like the theory of evolution, just like the theory of... What else? What other theories do we want to... should we talk about? The germ theory of disease. Yeah, I mean, so... yeah, fields like a lot of space cosmology fields, yeah, maybe more physics like quantum mechanics, true make deems. You're right. It is all about probabilities, though. Yeah, sure. The conclusions are probabilities typically in those fields. Let's see. What else we got here? Alexander Jackson says, "Sorry, not trying to be radical. No, I think you're fine. I just saw a couple things there. It's like don't let your don't let your extremism show, even if you are suffering from it." uh, William Meck says, "Your example of D'Souza's being crafty is why I find him disingenuous. Just another con man. It's probably why he finds compatibility with Trump." Um, no, I don't think I don't agree. I don't think Dinesh is a con man. I think Dinesh holds a particular worldview that he thinks is uh, incredibly important to defend by any means necessary, even if that means um, gaslighting or stirring the pot when it comes to particular issues that he thinks are important for his cause to be discussed. And if just you have to watch his newest documentary, and you'll get a sense that he thinks that history is important. History is very important to understand in order to interpret current trends that are happening right now in social extremism, I guess is what I call it. But I don't think you need to have a solid understanding of those histories. You can just apply your skepticism on a claim-by-claim basis and work through the war of ideas in that way. Mank Deem says, "I am up for anything this election cycle. Nothing can surprise me." What else we got? What else we got? All right, cool, guys. I really appreciate you guys stopping by to chat with me. I think that's how much I'm going to give it today. Please, if you can make it over to New York City, come and see the event. Would love to meet you, hang out. It'll be a really good opportunity to engage with some people who you agree with and some people who you disagree with. It'll be a nice mix of a crowd like that, and we'll obviously have some time after the event where people can stand around and converse. I will likely be walking around with some kind of camera to do a few interviews with audience. I'm hoping to do that, or I'll have someone doing that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this event. I think it's going to be one that people will be talking about for a very long time. And let's get to that 1,000 ticket mark as soon as we can and make this live stream available all around the world, because I think it's going to be worth seeing. So thank you guys so much for engaging with the chat. I really appreciate that. And let art and science inspire.